Okay. Obviously, we're gonna talk about Teflon Don catching a few felonies. A high school graduate's diploma was withheld because he decided to go off script and preach to his peers and their families during his commencement speech. And you know what's worse than being stabbed in the leg with a machete? Being stabbed in both legs in public with a machete. All in today's
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
episode of What's up, Internet? If you're new here and you don't know how you found me, it may have been through one of these.
Newly released body camera footage captures the horrifying moments a Texas woman claims police officers tortured her by slamming her face first into a pile of fire ants.
And if you're not already, make sure you subscribe so you never miss a news update. Now, you know we're gonna talk about this first, right? So let's just jump into it.
Donald Trump has become the first former president convicted of a crime, with a Manhattan jury finding him guilty of 34 felonies related to falsifying records to hide hush money payments.
Well. Look who's a felon now. The one and only Donald J. Trump. The man who claimed he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and still have supporters. Which I completely agree with that. His supporters are kind of loyal to a fault at this point. Has been found guilty on all 34 counts of cooking the books to cover up hush money payment to a porn star. Shocker, right? Not if you've been paying attention. At all. The Manhattan jury decided that the former president was in fact trying to illegally influence the 2016 election by keeping Stormy Daniels' mouth shut about their alleged trip to Pound Town. But we all know Trump. He's not one to let a little felony conviction ruin his weekend plans of golfing and ranting on Truth Social. Despite the mountain of evidence against him, including the testimonies from his former fixers Cohen and Pecker. Pecker. Trump's legal team still tried to claim that this was all no big deal. You know, just some innocent election influencing, as one does in a democracy. You know, nothing to see here, folks. It's just the former president conspiring to bury negative stories. Totally normal. Actually, I don't know why I said that sarcastically. I mean, let's be real. They all definitely have equally embarrassing stories that they've all tried to or did successfully bury, so my bad. So what's next for the felonious former leader of the free world, you may ask? A potential prison sentence he'll probably try to get commuted? Or perhaps an appeal process that'll drag on until the next election when he can just, presidentially pardon himself. Who knows? One thing's for sure though, you can bet that Trump's gonna milk this for all it's worth on the campaign trail, riling up his base by claiming he's a political prisoner. Because in MAGA land, the crooks are always the victims. At the end of the day, does anyone really think this is gonna stop Trump from running in 2024? Potentially regaining the most powerful office in the world? I mean, he is the man that faced 2 impeachments and just kind of said, fuck you to everybody. A little felony rap isn't gonna faze old Teflon Don.
Micah Price, a student at Campbell County High School, received his diploma 5 days after going off script during his commencement speech to talk about his faith in God.
Yes, it was a dramatic end to high school for young Micah Price, but now the dust has settled and Price has his diploma in hand. The whole saga kicked off on May 24th at Campbell County High School's commencement ceremony. Price was selected to give one of the student speeches, but he veered away from the approved text to talk about his Christian faith. He referenced Jesus as the light, the way, the truth, and the life, urging his classmates to make Jesus their answer, if their life had no meaning. That's mean, because obviously I'm paraphrasing, and well, it's just funnier that way. Anyways, those words were not in the approved script, and Price ended up leaving the ceremony that day without receiving his diploma. In the following days, the graduate did meet with the school administrators to explain his impromptu preaching, and ultimately they handed over his diploma this last Wednesday. Price did express relief at finally holding the document, calling it an answered prayer. But the student does remain resolute about sharing his beliefs, stating he would do it again without hesitation. Superintendent Shelley Wilson says speeches were pre-approved, with a short Jesus reference being allowed up front, and she also claims that the speakers were warned about deviating from their submitted remarks. Online, the incident has sparked an all too predictable debate, some praising Price for being a bold Christian voice, while others felt he broke reasonable rules. But all in all, he also has acknowledged that he went against the rules and probably should face some kind of punishment for it. Now, I thought this was kind of a big contrast to Louisiana earlier this week, having taken a legislative approach to embed religious teachings into their educational systems. Oh, fun fact, if you missed that, it's a thing about to happen. I'm pretty sure the discrepancy between these two events should be highlighted now and taken care of now. I actually thought it was handled, that whole separation of church and state thing. I guess those were really only guidelines though. Anyway, what do you all think? Was this an appropriate action they took taking his diploma? Was there anything else they could have actually done to reprimand him considering he was no longer a student? Let me know what you think.
A man was stabbed in both legs with a machete at New York's Times Square on Thursday afternoon, resulting in 3 arrests.
So, it was a bit of a wild afternoon in the heart of the Big Apple. Yes, a man was rushed to the hospital after being stabbed in both legs with a machete in a surprise attack right in the middle of Times Square. According to the NYPD, the incident went down around 1 p.m. at the iconic tourist hotspot. The unidentified victim was struck in the leg with a large blade, leaving him bloodied in the streets of Manhattan's most famous intersection. Thankfully, he's currently listed as stable condition in a nearby hospital. Police say they've already apprehended 3 suspects believed to be connected with the brazen broad daylight knifing. As of recording, details are still rolling in, so we'll have to wait on any information as to the motivation of the attack. While the machete stabbing is an alarming act of violence, it sort of shows how challenging it can be to prevent even the most brazen of attacks, even in one of the most surveilled locations on the planet. Times Square is perpetually packed with pedestrians and fitted with vast networks of security cameras, and yet the assailants were still able to unleash their attack in plain view among the tourist crowds before fleeing the scene. If someone's determined enough to strike in broad daylight surrounded by hundreds of potential witnesses, is there really any way to completely stop it? Like, I can't help but feel like if someone really wanted to do some damage, they could. And all we can actually do is react to it. Unless we're gonna do the whole Minority Report thing.
We got a red ball!
I don't think that's a good idea, though. Well, on that piece of safety is nothing but an illusion news, I'm gonna call it. You made it to the end. Don't forget to hit that like button. And, well, I'll see you next week. Bye.